but we do look forward to a good discussion today. If you are new, please again, just give us an introduction in the chat, who you are and what you do and what you're interested in the topics of revitalizing Portland. I'll go ahead and get started. I've got to do double duty and letting folks in at the same time, so bear with me. But welcome. This is the monthly meeting of the Revitalize Portland Coalition. My name's Eric Cole. I'm the executive director of the coalition, and really happy that folks like these update meetings and like checking in every month, which is great. We had stepped away from them for a couple of months, and we're going to continue to do the additional events that we had been putting together. But you know, we got a lot of feedback that folks like this format. So we're the collective voice of Portland's commercial real estate community, and we're focused on providing feedback and advising public officials on issues of public safety, homelessness, livability, and economic vitality. We have committees that work in all of those spaces. And if you're not engaged already and would like to be, just reach out and connect with me, or I can also put you in touch with our committee chairs. I'm going to keep adding to the chat our agenda, or our links for today, sorry. Where did my chat go? Oh, there it is. So most of the links from today and our agenda should be at this site, and it's also got ways for you to connect with us. 39 people, this is fantastic. So let me, once again, if you're new, just make sure you've introduced yourself in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. Couple of quick updates before we get started. I think the first one, we're very excited, and that's to congratulate Nathan Vasquez, who was elected as our incoming Multnomah County District Attorney. Really excited for Nathan. Jose, I see you're on there. Do you mind just saying a little bit about the significance of this win?
Oh, no. Yeah, thanks for inviting me to talk about this, because I just spent the weekend with Nathan. He is super excited. We're really excited because Nathan has shared from the very beginning, when we first contacted him, about some of the issues that our membership really was concerned about. He's been consistent in his want to have some accountability for the offender, and also to make sure that we start paying some attention and prioritizing some of these livability crimes that we're having to deal with, and not only in the downtown area, but also all over Multnomah County. We're excited because he's an experienced prosecutor. He knows how to do the job. And he's got the backing of not only his office, but he's got a great relationship with law enforcement. And I think that's something that's been missing from the DA's office for quite some time now. As a side note, I was a DA with Nathan. We got hired on about the same time. And I've watched him develop into just a wonderful prosecutor. And now he gets an opportunity to run the office. And like I said, he has the backing of law enforcement and a lot of community members. And he's excited to get to work not only on, like I said, accountability, but we've got the deflection program coming up, which he wants to be involved with. And then he's going to be an important partner for a lot of the stuff that we're working on. I'm the chair of the Crime and Safety Committee, and he's interested in becoming a partner and making sure his office is partnering up with us in addressing some of those issues. So we're super excited about it. And it's a great win for RPC, because we went all in on him, and it really paid off.
Thank you. Yeah. And really excited also. We had endorsed Julia Brim Edwards in her county commission re-election, and she won. RPC had endorsed Vince Jones Dixon in his race in the county commission, and he won narrowly, avoiding a runoff. And then We'll hear in a little bit from Vadim Mozyrsky, but Vadim was successful in getting into the top 2 in his race for county commission, which is exciting. We had endorsed Vadim, and then in the other county commission race, Sam Adams but came in second place, moving on to the runoff later this fall, and we endorsed Sam, as well as Jesse Burke, who we also thought was a very, very strong candidate and a good friend and ally. So we're happy about that. Our board is getting ready to start working on the city elections that are coming up in the fall. So the city council and the mayor's race, and we'll be interviewing and talking to candidates over the next little while. There's 78 candidates or 79 candidates, I think, announced, and probably more coming. So that's going to be a project for our board, but they're up for it. So excited. I think I saw Sharon come in, and I'm just going to kind of dance around because I want to make sure I don't take up people's time. I know everybody's on a short schedule. But Commissioner Meieran, are you there? And do you mind just kind of saying hi and giving us it's great to see you.
It's great to see you as well. And sorry, I had some technical difficulties this afternoon. So but so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely.
And you want to hear a little bit, very briefly about the goings on at the county. So there are 2 major things. I'm Sharon Meieran. I represent District 1 for the Multnomah County Board, and that is all the county west of the Willamette River and inner southeast out to about southeast 33rd. I deeply appreciate all of the commitment of folks in this group toward electing some really great commissioners to come in and take on the role in what is a crucial local government organization pertaining to the big issues facing our community. So homelessness, mental health and addictions, those are the biggies, and tie directly into public safety and livability. And we don't get a handle on these, there's nothing the city can do to address what's happening. And so who we have at the county matters so much. The chair has virtually absolute power at the county, but we can, if there are 3 votes, a majority of the commission can actually shift the direction of the county. And so you supported candidates I'm supporting and will be avidly supporting during the during the general election. So the 2 major issues that have come up for the county over the past couple of months are passage of the county's budget, $4 billion budget, and the county's approval of the intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, with the city of Portland regarding homelessness. And it's to sort of replace the joint office of homelessness with yet another bureaucracy that is overseeing a whole bunch of different committees at extraordinary cost. And I'm personally not a fan, but I have a sense of things that could make it stronger. So the budget basically passed 4-1. I was the lone no vote, and we have a very flawed process to create a budget of this magnitude at the county. Basically, the chair works with department heads, herself alone exclusively, to come up with what the departments will get for what they recommend in their budgets. It's usually based on somewhat reiterating, past programs. And then they put all of these individual programs together into a massive document, not connected by strategy or policy or plan, but each program is sort of what is the budget. And the county commissioners receive the budget generally around the same time the public does, at which point we start our so-called deliberations and think about some of us individual programs and what tiny little piece you want to get into the budget, some of us about bigger picture and how we can actually impact this budget to achieve systems that are more efficient and effective. And the way the process kind of happens, it's a bit of a, you know, a little bit of a sham is the word that comes to mind. I'm trying to be really diplomatic, but it's, you know, it's sort of cooked. By the time that the chair's proposed budget is generally accepted, again, with the board as it is, and then there's often like $1 million or $2 million left over that the 4 remaining commissioners kind of scramble over to get their programs and projects into the budget. So that's essentially what happened. I'm not happy at all with any of the process, but there's so much potential right now. And just in the big picture for homelessness, we have $395 million available for the Joint Office of Homeless Services alone. $304 million from the Supportive Housing Services Measure funds. And that's just in 1 year. And I don't think anything that we're doing in this budget is going to it's not going to show up in a reduction in absolute numbers of people living unsheltered. I don't think it's going to make a tremendous difference, but with that amount of money, we should be making a tremendous visible difference. So that's kind of what I'm pursuing. Also working on some big systems issues around our behavioral health systems. We voted, I made an amendment for a fentanyl expert team, a strike force that would be addressing the ongoing fentanyl emergency. And that would be about $200,000 coming from the sharps and tents, et cetera, budget. That was voted down. Yeah, frustrating process. I'm happy to answer questions about it. And then the IGA, which is really in the works right now, where you can have an influence, you know, if you want. The current agreement between the city of Portland and the county, it about 9 years ago, it formed the Joint Office of Homeless Services. That was supposed to be sort of a shared agency, recognizing that we were inefficiently using funds, we were duplicating efforts, there were big gaps. So why didn't the city and county come together to share funding and share priorities and figure out a collaborative approach to addressing homelessness? I think a lot of us have seen the fallout from that. The plan at that point, sort of the governing body, was called A Home for Everyone, and it was a bunch of committees and coalitions, and things got worse. And now, rather than sort of saying, what went wrong with that system? What are the things that didn't work? How can we improve on them? There has been a new plan introduced called the Homelessness Response System, or HRS, and an action plan has been developed called the HRAP, or Homeless Response Action Plan, that was proposed by the chair and the mayor. And they're seeking to get to formalize an intergovernmental agreement to replace the joint office agreement, which expires at the end of this month. So there's been all sorts of stuff going on. This issue has not gotten the attention it deserves, given its important massive changes in homelessness. And there are some major problems with it. Again, if you have questions, I can go into detail, but the county passed the current version at its board meeting last week, kind of ramming it through. The city is having a first hearing on this same agreement this Thursday, and they will be voting on adoption, at least as of now, on July 10th. So again, there will be massive implications. They're creating a whole new bureaucracy. Directorship and leadership will be housed in the chair's office. The chair will have absolute power over selection of the leader of this and sort of the policy that happens. And that's about where it is. It promises a number of deliverables that literally are pulled out of thin air, and this was very apparent in questioning on Thursday. And I'm very concerned it's not just going to be continuing the status quo, but doubling down and making things worse. So that's my little update. I have 6 more months on the board, and I intend to use them. I will not be a lame duck. I will be a quacking duck that will continue to do everything in my power to push for the right policies for behavioral health, homelessness, and doing that work for our communities with my city council colleagues.
Wow. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Thanks for taking the time. I know how busy you are, and we hope you do keep quacking loudly. We'll quack with you. We have time for maybe a couple of 1 or 2 questions if anybody's got them. Happy to, you can just blur them out or raise your hand. Lonnie, I see your hand up.
I wrote it in the chat, but let me ask you, Sharon, is there a process in which we might change the power dynamic in the commission? I know it's a big...
I mean, voting, we must get, we need to get Sam and Vadim elected in November. And I mean, that will be the clearest way. And also just, I think there is responsiveness to outside opinion from the chair's office, from some of the other commissioners' offices. So if you write in and say, we need you to do X, Y, or Z, that those voices can be heard and can make a difference. But it's really, at this point, I'm relying on us changing the makeup of the commission.
Okay.
Thank you. And certainly follows our process. We didn't necessarily get into this to be a political organization, but have found that elections matter. And so we've started our endorsement.
The one other, actually, just to add to that, and Sam Adams was, really helpful in this in calling out and hiring outside counsel to say, you know what, shining a light on the fact that the chair is given a lot of power at the county, and the chair takes a lot of the power at the county. And it's really hard in that role. You can say it on the commission, but people don't listen. You don't have the same voice, and our county attorney is arguing against us, and we're on the board. And so having sort of some select areas where we can say, oh, you have to be accountable to this from an external source is really helpful. And then I see the next question, which I just love, that I really want to address. 2 questions. Are the housing first model? This is a brilliant question. So in the chat, it says we need to move away from housing first without mandatory wraparound supports and a plan for the person to remain in housing, and what happens when the person decompensates. And that is exactly one of the biggest missing links in our system is the people who espouse housing first, the people who are saying, it's the evidence-based approach, and we have to do it, and etc. It is absolutely evidence-based for a certain a certain population, and it has to be done right. And very few people, very few organizations in Portland, at least, do it right. And if we're not doing it, it's expensive, it's time intensive, it requires very close matching of people with greatest need to major services that stay with them and support them. They might go in and out of housing. We just don't even look at that model. And the fact that we're not, is, it just points to the whole, like, it's kind of a house of, pardon the pun, but a house of cards on which this whole foundation is built. It's so, anyway, super important.
Well, and yeah, I thought that myself, or even what we are practicing or what we call housing first is actually not even the definition nationally
Exactly,
of housing first.
exactly.
Andrew, I'm gonna let you ask our one other question that we've got to scoot on, unfortunately.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks, Sharon, for all you're doing. We're behind you and appreciate all your efforts. I wanted to just ask you, if you were on city council right now, what would you do? Would you vote to approve and just go along to get along? Would you vote against and kick it back out for renegotiation? Would you seek to do some amendments? What would you do?
Such a great question. No, I would be an absolute no on the agreement as it exists. It is not, it literally doesn't make sense. It is based in inaccuracies, inconsistencies, and it doesn't make sense. I was surprised anyone could actually vote, anyone voted for it at the county after the horrible presentation last week where basic questions couldn't be answered. And I think everyone wants to just like get something done and a new council's coming in. We cannot use that as an excuse, or they get their individual projects somehow covered in the thing. It's like, okay, I'm fine. No, we need to be the systems thinkers and say, if we're replacing this, we need to do it right. I think there are some amendments that can make it stronger and more viable. And the three key things for me, the first is independence. We need independence from politicians we need a body of experts directing policy and making these decisions and governing instead of what we are going to be putting in place with how it stands, which is an entire steering committee, all of politicians who have really great intentions, but they're not experts in homeless policy and not but they have individual sort of blinders on the projects they want to see. We need those people who can put the things together, who are the experts, give it to the politicians and say, okay, you can sort of shine it up if you want, but here's a plan that will work holistically. So independence of governance structure is key in my mind. I mean, that's probably the most important. And then if they're going to be doing, and we can definitely get a copy of the IGA, seeing a chat here.
Yeah, that'd be.
And
I can share it with everybody.
yeah,
I've read it. It's quite a tome.
it's it is quite a tome. And the thing that just I felt, I was a lawyer a long time before I went back to medical school, and took me back to the questions I was asking on last Thursday that not a single one could be answered. It was about every deliverable. So where did you, says we'll move 50% of this number of people who are on a list out living outside somewhere within a year and a half. Okay. It's like, well, 2,699 people, we're going to move them somewhere that's not outside. It's like, where did you come up with that number? I mean, what is the evidence that shows, like, okay, how many people are living outside now? How did you choose that number? How did you budget for it? We both just passed our budgets. Where can you point to? None, zero basis in need, in funding, in connection. And the same was true of, we're going to decrease to zero the number of people discharged from hospitals and other facilities to homelessness. I work in a hospital. I discharge people to homelessness, sadly, as an ER doctor. And so I asked, and I do it a lot. We all do it a lot. So I said, you're gonna, wow, decrease to zero. Like that's pretty big commitment. And so how many people are there on average a week being discharged from hospitals and stuff? Just ballpark.
Sharon, what were the other two things that you mentioned that you do if you're on city council?
Oh, yes, thank you. Bringing you back to the present. So it would be changing the deliverables. So I would want to see a decrease in the absolute number of people living unsheltered outside on our streets. Because with what they're doing now, it's just saying, we'll move a bunch of people somewhere. We don't know where. They could come back. So we need a real meaningful decrease of the absolute number of people on the streets, the net. And I'm totally blanking on my third one. I can get it to Eric and share it with you.
Right.
I'm like, I'm saying it all the time. I'm like, oh,
Well,
So-
transparency is really important as a value, I think, in this work. And so we're thankful that you are here and are always here and willing to kind of share with us the insides of what's going on. So we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I
course.
see Greg has a question in the chat, and I'll respond via email to that
Wonderful.
and send that to you,
That's
Eric.
great. Thank you so much, Sharon. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Thank you all. And feel free to write to me. I'll put my write
Perfect.
to Eric, or
Yep.
I'm easy District 1 at multco.us, and I will respond.
That's great. That's great. I'll put it in the chat here in a second. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to shift gears. Sorry, we kind of go all over the place with issues, but that's, we're trying to cover all the livability issues in downtown. I'm really excited to get kind of a quick update. I know he's on a time constraint, but from Robert, are you there? You still there? Have I lost you?
No, I'm here, Eric.
Okay, so Robert King, Chief of Staff for Chief Bob Day. We got to work with him as we were working on our symposium in the spring. I think Robert's a very straight shooter, and really I enjoy working with him. So Robert, thanks for coming on short notice, and floor is yours.
Yeah, I've got to thanks everybody. Nice to be here. I've got to jump off in a minute to get into a meeting with the boss, but I wanted to just quickly say two things. One, there's a lot that's been happening at the police bureau regarding the rapid response team. You all, if you're watching the news, or there was a press conference this last week, the team itself has been selected. They've undergone training with the state. The police bureau itself is now doing ongoing training, and there's we're doing everything now in the lead up to the election that we need to do in order for our team to be ready to respond. So that's all been, it's underway. It's good news. There's strong council support. There's the chief is working on mutual aid agreements with Gresham Police Department, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, with the Port of Portland, in talks with Clackamas County Sheriff, Washington County Sheriff, Lake Oswego, and other agencies. Some OSP is a natural partner for us in anything related to crowd management, public order policing. But a lot of other organizations are stepping in and stepping up. Some are coming down and helping us, and others are taking calls in the city when and if a protest kicks off. So lot happening there. Obviously very important that we, continue on that path in every way to be as ready as possible. And then secondly, with respect to fentanyl, that continues to be a, crisis on our streets. 300 plus people a year dying from overdose death. Our folks at Central Precinct on the bike squad on afternoon shift now on the bike detail have done amazing and are continuing to do amazing work. The chief added resources to the bike squad for afternoon shift. He also has added investigators and supervisors at the narcotics and organized crime unit so that they could do not only overdose death investigations, but they could do work on interventions related to fentanyl coming into our city. You all know Measure 110's repeals resulted in what's called Senate Bill 4002. A couple of good things are happening on that front. One, it obviously recriminalizes unclassified misdemeanor, the possession of fentanyl, come September, and which will mean we have the ability to arrest as opposed to just cite. With respect to that, there's an ongoing effort to stand up a deflection center. I think there's some good progress being made there. They're working on a lease and a location, talking about standing up a team that can do that work internally. We need to be able to take people to somewhere other than jail or hospital. So feel like that's moving along pretty well. And then we're also really happy about the changes in the law. that when it's a commercial drug offense and there's certain criteria that's outlined in law, and there's also substantial quantity provision in the law. When those things happen, people can not only be charged with higher level crimes that could result in higher levels of sentences if found guilty, but they're also it gives us more in the way of tools. Now, the one other tool that I'm going to close out on this to get to my next meeting, I want to make you aware of, is there is a presiding judge's order that comes down from the state, but also is interpreted throughout each one of the counties in the state of Oregon. And Judge Greenlick has been pulled together a body of people to look at what the law is, and then look at what Multnomah County is going to hold for. So when I say hold, part of our problem is we arrest people for drugs and drug dealing and even possession of guns, and they're literally out on the street, and recogged within a very short period of time. So at the end of the day, the presiding judge has said, well, first of all, the law requires in certain cases, people are going to be held to see a judge. Now, it doesn't mean they can't be held longer, but at a minimum, they're going to be held to see a judge, as opposed to kicked and put back out on the street to deal drugs within hours after having been arrested. The presiding judge's order also strengthens our ability to, it's Multnomah County, hold people in jail for a variety of other offenses. So I just wanted to let you know, part of you've always heard about the recidivism, but it's really the revolving door. One thing we need is, rules that allow us not just to arrest people, but also a presiding judge's order that allows us to hold people, the county to hold people in jail, so they don't rotate back out onto the street to commit new crimes within that same day. So there's some good things that are happening. Chief's very attuned and concerned and focused on doing everything possible between now and the election, in particular, to strengthen our position. He held press conferences recently with the mayor, with the DA, with President from Portland State, and then following the burning of our vehicles and other crimes committed, he held a press conference with the United States Attorney and with the FBI and with the mayor. So our chief, on behalf of our community, is willing to, ensure strong mutual aid agreements, provide resources, strengthen our ability to respond, and call criminals, people who engage in criminal conduct, out, and bring the resources necessary to hold them accountable. So I'm feeling like in a variety of different areas, we're on a good path. I'd like to come back and talk at greater length.
Yes.
But that's a little bit of what's going on, and we're committed to ensuring that there is nothing like what happened in 2020. And then lastly, I just want to say, and I know Eli's on the call, just what a tremendous amount of respect, admiration, and appreciation that the chief has for the members of the Portland Police Bureau, the work that they've done and the work that they're doing. Just incredibly competent, professional, hardworking people. And so grateful. I just want to say that there's a gratitude from the chief's office for everything everybody in this organization does in service to you.
Thank you, Robert. I know you've got to run. If we will call you back probably for our public safety meeting in July.
Sounds really good. I'll be here. I'll be there. All right.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Robert responded to my invite on Saturday, so big props to him. All right, I don't want to belay it any longer. I'm going to turn it over to Vadim Mozyrsky, who is our endorsed candidate for county commission. Vadim, take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric, and thank you everybody else for your support in this campaign. Off to the general election at this point in time. I think the speakers so far have laid the groundwork pretty good here. So thank you, Sharon, for spotlighting the critical failures at the county. And Robert also pointed out a lot of the criminal justice sort of elements that are at play here. This is a very important race. I've said it time and time again for anybody that's heard me speak. The mayor and the city manager are pretty important. City council, hats off to all the candidates in this room are pretty important, but it's going to take a while for everybody to get things going. The county is in charge of homelessness, drug addiction, mental illness, implementing that House Bill 4002 and the changes to Measure 110 that we heard about. You know, how do you implement, make sure that people get off the street into treatment, and using the criminal justice system as a way to do that? Well, the county is supposed to implement that. And guess what? They're doing it behind closed doors right now. So there's no open avenue of listening in to see how that's going to work out. And as both Robert and Eli pointed out, there's a revolving door for criminality right now. Well, once again, it's the judges at the county level working with the DA, working with the county commissioners that are supposed to be implementing these rules to make sure that we have drug dealers stay behind bars and not victimizing other people. So there's a lot of failures that we've discussed. The problem is very few people know about what's happening at the county, and that's certainly my job to make people know. So, you know, off to coffees, off to meetings, off to conversations and fundraisers and all that kind of stuff like that. It's been a very low information campaign up until this point. Some of the neighborhood associations had a debate, but City Club did not. And so I look forward to actually having a debate where we can talk about the differences between my candidacy and my opponent. And sort of understand what our differences is. My opponent had a huge independent expenditure that some of these status quo organizations, some of the public sector unions, and some of the nonprofit organizations that, you know, honestly benefit both politically and financially from the current status quo. As of like 2 weeks before the election, last time I looked, they raised $80,000 to help both my opponent and Shannon Singleton. I'm sure at the end of the day, it was more than that, to help them get elected. And, you know, we got to counter that in any way possible. So what they did was they muddied the water. And even though my opponent is, you know, very much a status quo candidate, her organization, Disability Rights Oregon, made the news recently in that, to give you just like one example, but our hospitals sued the state because there are not enough beds at OHA to treat people with mental illness. And so the hospitals are becoming that first line of treating people, which they're not all that great at, and there's not a lot of room. It's a very complex matter. And my opponent's organization contested that and is fighting to keep people off from being civilly committed in OHA systems and basically leaving it on the streets. Very much a status quo thing. But if you read the mailers that were sent out on her behalf by some of these organizations, she sounds like a person that wants to change the system, even though her organization seems to be doing everything they can to defend the system. And so, you know, once again, up to me to be out there and make people know what the difference is, and that this is really a status quo versus change election, both in my race and Sam Adams' race. He's facing his own version of my opponent over there, who's worked within the system, who is now trying to make it seem like she wants to change the system. So we both have a lot of work to do, and also, you know, to get out as in front of many voters as we can, whether that's through mailers, whether through online ads and in person, but also relying on the media to get some information out there through debates, through interviews, through any means possible. I certainly did an analysis on the voter turnout. We did a precinct breakdown, looked at the impact of some of the congressional races, which was very interesting on this election, and also looked at past races, Joanne Hardesty's race, for instance, and where she did well, where my opponent did well, and where I need to work on to make sure, like Renee beat Joanne, that I beat my opponent in the general election. So I know where I need to focus. I know where I need to knock on doors. And I know what we need to do to get that information out there in the future. So I'm very thankful for your support. I hope your support still continues. As you all know, I'll do my pitch here. This is a campaign that relies on contributions from individuals, and there's no matching funds like there is with the city. So, you know, we've spent a good deal of the money that we had in the primary. Now it's time to raise more money. And the more we do that, the more people I can contact, the more social media I can do, the more advertisements, online advertisements we can do. to get people to know what the difference in this race are. I think in this room is a very educated field. You know, we have certainly, you know, Bob Weinstein, Eli. I think we saw Stan out there, a bunch of candidates in here. Betsy Johnson, she knows what's going on. There's a lot of very educated people in this room, but most people open up their voters pamphlet, they see an endorsement from someone that they like, and that's how they check the box. So got to get to them first. You know, I'll be walking the streets and knocking on doors. And anything y'all can do to help out with that, you know, get me in front of like 10 people or so, and I'll be there for coffee, for lunches, for anything else. We know what the plan is. We just have to make sure we get enough people on board to get the information out to as many people as possible. So thank you again for your support, and happy to answer questions or however you want to do this, Eric.
Sorry, leaf blowers here right as I talk. Vadim, thank you. Questions, comments for Vadim?
Yeah, thanks, Eric, for putting Vote Vadim website on there. Please feel free to visit it. You know, sign up and we'll certainly get back to you with any requests or any information. So thanks, everybody.
Well, one of the ways folks can, you know, get involved or do something that might be a little lower threshold is house party, or trying to gather your friends, go in with some other folks on something to help have Vadim come and talk. We have a couple members who are interested and happy to help folks with that. So if you've got an interest and you're like, I don't know where to start with that, just let me know and I can connect you up. But I know several folks on this call have done that with other, you know, kind of joining with others. And it's another really nice way to show your support. And I know that the funding is needed. Andrew, yes, sir.
Just a quick question, Vadim, who is the point of contact for organizing house parties now, and who's your campaign manager? Is that set, and can you share that contact information?
Yeah, it's not set yet. You know, there's been a little change in my campaign. So if you email info@votevadim, or, you know, even the past contact info for my campaign manager, either I or my consultants will pick up on that. So either way, pending the next couple of weeks as we transition, I'm still getting everyone's email, whether it's votevadim@votevadim, which is directly to me, or info@votevadim, which is the catch-all sort of website email.
Hey, Eric.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to note one thing at some of my house events. What I've been doing, because a lot of people are expressing concern about coordination or lack thereof between the city and county, and asking what to do. I'm promoting Vadim whenever I can, and I understand some other candidates, including those present, are doing the same thing. But it will be important if there's an effort like that, so city candidates can do what they can to help Vadim win his election.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. It really is important to coordinate that way up front. Zach, for multifamily, thank you for putting in the chat about house parties. That's a really good note, in that, you know, we're made up of organizations. 33 different organizations are members of Revitalize Portland. Multifamily Northwest is certainly one of the biggest and the most active. Our member organizations, some of them have PACs, some of them have political engagement they do on their own. So we're really, really happy to kind of coordinate and help, you know, spread that word. We're as an organization not contributing to candidates for that reason, because we have other groups in our network that are funding, but we are endorsing. So anyway, Zach, thank you. I appreciate that. And I can connect anybody with Zach if they are interested. All right, Vadim, thank you so much. Go out there and knock on some doors and get some votes. It's always great to see you and to connect. Zach, thanks for your email in the chat. Senator Johnson, your name was called, and in my parliamentary procedure history, that means you get a chance to speak. So I'm
Cool.
turn it over to you.
Thank you. I want to say two things. First of all of us owe Commissioner Meieran a tip of the hat and a thank you for being as brave as she's been. Having been an elected, sitting on a dais and taking on your chair is an act of courage in and of itself, and she has done it repeatedly. I think it is absolutely essential to get her some colleagues elected to that commission so that they can override the almost unlimited power of the chair. And so going out and working for Vadim and Sam is absolutely essential. What I wanted to share is the early comments that Jose made, and to thank Jose for everything that he did to help Nathan. I was very much part of Team Nathan. But right now, Mike Schmidt is in the process of actively sabotaging the implementation of House Bill 4002 in Portland. He put virtually no money in his budget for deflection. I think personally, and I'm a private citizen now, so I'm entitled to my opinion and express it out loud. I think this is his payback to the Drug Policy Alliance to make sure that 4002 fails in Portland, and they can all run back and go, see, we told you, recriminalization did nothing. And so it is incumbent on all of us that care about how this happens in Multnomah County to stay on his office, to watch budget proceedings, to make sure that the city commission and the county commission know that we have an expectation that deflection be funded, implemented, and robustly engaged in, so that Multnomah County, our most populous county, doesn't fail the test of House Bill 4002. And Mike is an active saboteur, and he needs to be watched like a hawk. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. That's a really, really good note and warning. Particularly, we've heard multiple different stories about what they're trying to set up for deflection and for implementing the new law. If there's no funding for it, which you're right, is that it's not gonna be as effective. So I really appreciate that.
And he's still the DA until January the 1st. And I would anticipate him making every effort to muzzle and stifle Nathan. The good news, the DA-elect has a couple of big murder trials that he will carry out with the consummate professionalism that he's exhibited during his whole career. But make no mistake, Schmidt is not his friend, and there are Schmidt loyalists in that office. And if they can make House Bill 4002 fail, they will have appeased and paid tithe to their evil overlords, the Drug Policy Alliance. So we got to watch that very, very carefully. Thanks again.
Senator, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. It's good to see you as always. I'll share at the end of the meeting our schedule for meetings upcoming. I think Jose will have a lot to talk about and work on it. We always do, but on our next crime and public safety meeting, we'll follow up on all of these topics. All right, I'm gonna shift gears a little bit to a positive event that we're excited about coming back to downtown. We try to really highlight the wins, the exciting things that go on in Portland. We just finished the city just finished celebrating a very successful Portland Rose Festival. We've got the Waterfront Blues Festival coming up. I mean, great events that are happening downtown. These events, as you might imagine, do a great job for increasing our foot traffic and our notoriety and bringing people back, but they also take infrastructure and resources and support. And so, when you think about the struggles of public safety or struggles of some of our infrastructure challenges downtown, the folks that are organizing these events are working probably doubly hard than they normally would have to. So I have great admiration for those folks. One of the events that's coming up later this year is FashionNXT, which is our Portland Fashion Week. And so Tito, my friend Tito is here. And I finally got back to him on Saturday, and I was thrilled he could come and just kind of give a quick update on FashionNXT too. You are muted, my friend. There you go.
Okay, yeah, thank you, everybody. And I'm here watching and learning all the difficult things that the important folks here have been solving the problems for the city, but and improve its livability. But as you probably know from the history of Portland, that our livability has always been inextricably tied to the city's capability to offer creative experience, and also being a place for creatives to thrive and excel. And with all this crazy difficult situations that we have been dealing with, to create excitement within the citizens, especially the consumer class people who need the support, who need that reason for come out and experience the city to its fullest glory. That we have done despite the challenges that we faced, like after the pandemic. So last year we did the 10-year anniversary of FashionNXT, and year before, right after pandemic, we brought out the program, an event, a 3-day runway show, and product exhibit of fashion, lifestyle technology brands in a city whose significant economic impact comes from apparel, footwear, fashion industry. And we are in the Forbes magazine last year as the #1 US City Fashion Week. We have done last year's event at the historic US Bank block, and year before on the Broadway on the Union Bank, in the Bank of the California buildings, and to bring in people at in our city in a very difficult street and intersection, and with record attendance. That we definitely got tremendous support from the media, including Channel 6, Coin 6, who live streamed the show also. And the challenge continues. We have been like really in need of support to maintain the quality of the experience. As you probably know, everything is so much more expensive. Everything that requires labor is even more expensive than, and this is being a big event at this scale has been very difficult to produce. All the sponsorship and things like that has been continue to dwindle. So I would love to have discussion with all the folks here, business owners in the development area, and commercial real estate and residentials, and all of that, who have been pre-pandemic were the biggest sponsors and supporters for the show, and to reach out to me. My email address I already included in there, and because we are not only creating a show, it is developing an ecosystem for an industry that is the biggest in our state, fashion, apparel, footwear, and another, and above and beyond our immediate contribution for the ecosystem. I have spent last 2 years with the city's art and culture plan, that to include fashion as a part of art and culture. And I'm so happy to report to this group that the art and culture plan that just got adopted last week by the city council does indeed include fashion as a art and culture plan, because it was pretty shocking to me when I applied for the state of Oregon's art funding during the pandemic. They did not even accept my application because fashion was not art to them. So since then I took it very seriously, and hopefully this will improve change the mind of the politicians and the policymakers to be able to support the fashion sector here. And being a resident in the downtown Pearl area, I know the tremendous challenge of all of us are going through, including the landlords and including the property owners and all of that. So I'm very happy to be part of a solution for bringing in the consumer class people to come out and with excitement that are so desperately needed, but also support these small business independent designers that are so important if we have any chance to come out of this depressing state of the downtown and bringing in people with excitement, because creative experience has always been at the hallmark of what Portland is. And speaking of the last point about the locations, things like that, we have proposal for a real estate, a property who wants to host it, but it's not ideal because last year's venue, US Bank, they are leaving the building apparently, the historic bank building. So if any of you have ideas of about 20,000 square feet space that we can take temporary lease on in end of September to early October, when the show is in early October, so a few days setup and breakdown. Please reach out to me, tito@fashionnext.com, and thank you for everybody, and thank you for all the hard work this team has been doing for this difficult time.
Thank you, Tito, and thanks for highlighting the industry and highlighting the economic driver that is our creative culture and class. I mean, I don't think we always recognize what the impact is on employment and on our future economic success as well. So it's certainly one of our strengths here locally is the fashion industry. All right, we have 2 minutes left. I am gonna quickly just share a couple of updates about RPC. We aren't always the best at recognizing and thanking our member organizations. So you can see here the 33 different organizations and companies that are members of our coalition, and we certainly appreciate and are here really because of those organizations. We have our newest members that we wanted to make sure we took a moment to recognize, and that's Lincoln Property Group, Pacific Northwest Properties, Jordan Ramus, Capacity Commercial, and our friends at HFO. Several of these folks, leaders in these groups, have been a real active part of RPC, and we're thrilled for them to put their name on what we're doing. Just gonna remind you also, and I saw Michael Hieronymus is on the call. We did launch a podcast recently, and we encourage you to check it out. We call it Revive and Thrive, the PDX Renaissance podcast. More sessions coming soon, but you can check it out either on our website or on YouTube. And then just wanted to highlight upcoming events so that you could see them. We got a committee meeting on the 26th of June. That's our Economy and Housing Committee. And then in July, we will be back to having our happy hour at Jordan Ramus, along with a monthly roundtable. That'll be on the 17th of July. So circle that on your calendar. Crime and Safety and the Homelessness Committee will meet also on the 10th and the 15th. So we'd love to see you at one of those. Just let me know if you want to join. And then there's August as well. Some of these things are to be determined, and we'll be circling back. We we'll be following up with you on when this meeting will happen going forward. We've gotten some great responses to a survey we put out. That survey is still open, so I can share that. Actually, I meant to do that. Let me share that with you here just to kind of get a feel for whether or not these meetings are useful and what other topics you would like to see. I'm going to drop that in the chat right now. So please take a second and fill that out as well. I'm going to skip past this part and just leave you with our going away message. And just to say, if any of your companies or organizations are interested in joining, being a part of RPC, it is not a very difficult process. We are really thankful. We've asked for membership dues and donations from our organizations over these last couple of months, and folks have been very generous, and very thankful to them, some of our existing members for supporting the organization as well. And so we're going to be out doing additional recruitment for organizations to join us as well. So if any of you are part of a group and you think you would be interested, just certainly follow up with me or follow up with one of our board members. Most of them are actually on this call, which is excellent. So I think with that, I'm going to wrap us up. I don't know if there was anything in the chat that I missed that we need to wrap up, but I'll certainly circle back with anything on email that we can share, some of the things Sharon mentioned, etc. So any other closing thoughts before we go? All right, go get them. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.